Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our first patient is this little guy over here. It's a very nice board, probably from a miniature computer, 1700 socket, probably a few pins missing there. Just lots of RAM, very nice. You can put some powerful CPU on it, even judging by the V core. Well, maybe not huge, but it can pull some serious work. Now these little boards are actually, they have a very high success rate. Because they're thicker, they're smaller, so my entire heater covers the entire board. They don't warp for that reason, pretty much no warping at all. The board stays completely flat, which helps a lot. I don't think I ever had a failure on these little boards. So just at the beginning of the last step, the socket is already loose. So those little boards heat up very quickly, no problems there. They're essentially very easy to work with. And this is my last syringe of this blend, or this particular batch. It has almost no alcohol in it, so there's essentially no boiling, as you can see. I switched to newer batches that contain a little more alcohol to make it easier to work with. So you can see a little bit of boiling, but it's not anything concerning. We had outline on the socket, everything goes well over here. I think it dropped pretty early. It dropped now at like maybe 210. So as expected, cleaning, as you can see, it cleaned very nicely. You wouldn't even tell that the socket was replaced. Perfect success over here. It should work. Next patient is AM5 socket. They're usually easier to work with, but it all depends. Last one we did, the board warped upwards, so you kinda never know. This one's not very thick. It looks like gaming board. So let's hope this one goes well. The position of the socket seems to be different on this one than the other one we'll be working on in a minute. So you would think you can just place the first board and then just place another board and go like that, but no, that position of the socket, position of the CPU is different on boards. Unless you work on the exact same board, then yeah. As always, long preheating to prevent warping. Nice, allow the board to dry, to heat up uniformly and slowly. And as you can see, pretty much no warping. The socket already loosened, I can already see that. But let's see, is it ready? It is perfectly ready, yeah. This one loosened very early, actually. As you can see, we went through like maybe 20% of this final step. Usually, sometimes they loosen up around half the step, sometimes at the end of the step. In some cases, they won't let loose until the very end of the step. Now, as you can see, this one boils a little bit more. You see that, a little bit of boiling. It's a trade-off. It's much easier to work with. It's not, as you can see, it's not a violent boiling, so it's not a big deal. I would prefer it doesn't boil at all, but also I like when you can actually squeeze the flux out of the tube. Once you remove too much alcohol, it doesn't boil, but then it becomes a little too hard to squeeze out of the tube, especially if you use a needle. Without the needle, it's fine. Some people use tweezers to actually apply it because it's so thick. Some of those earlier blends, actually, it doesn't happen anymore, but now at this point I realized I screwed up. I mean, it happens, but I don't know if you can tell already what's wrong. You can probably guess by the time I spent aligning the socket, but there's no outline on the socket. I didn't realize that until I removed the socket, and actually right before I started replacing it. So the socket is essentially misaligned. I can't guarantee alignment, so that board is not going to work. It's going to fall into that 20% bucket of boards that don't get saved. And even when I do make my own outline, that's still very low probability of success, because I cannot make an outline like the factory does it. So there's always a little bit of guessing, and if you're just one pin off, then obviously that's not going to work. Now luckily this patient does have an outline, and as you can see the heater is not centering, so I have to move the board a little to center the heater, and it's actually not completely centered. Now you want the back of the socket to be more in the center than the front, otherwise, well, you're gonna see it here. It just takes a little longer to heat it up if the center of the heater is not pointing to where the ground is. But it still heats up this entire area, so it's still fine. You just have to wait a little longer in the last step. Same heating, same profile, and we're at the top, and it doesn't want to lose, right? And this one, as you can see, we're at like 70-80% of the step, and that's when the socket released. Sometimes it's also about the board, right? If the board is thicker, it's gonna take a little longer. Our delta was around 15-20 degrees, so that usually means relatively thick board. And another shot at a little more boily flux, but yeah, it works perfectly fine. Now the reason you don't want it to boil violently is because it's going to take away the temperature too quickly from the board. You don't want that. But other than that, everything is going well over here. It's cleaning up very nicely. Now, even considering that I'm using really crappy wick, as long as you have good flux and a little bit of patience, you can still get the job done really well, even with crappy tools. As long as you have good flux. And that cleans up nicely like this. Now spread it around. New socket on. Perfect outline. This is actually the best outline that they make. It covers the exact shape of the socket. No guesswork, no nothing. Even some sockets that do have outline, sometimes there's a little bit of guesswork you have to do. This one had perfect outline, so this should be a perfect success. And it dropped very early, as you can see, even before we hit 200 degrees. But I still let it run the entire profile, just to make sure that it's reflown. But as you can see, no warping in either direction. So this should be a perfect success. So out of those three, well, I know one is not going to work, and there's nothing I can do with that. It has to fall into that 20% category. I do my best to bring the success rate all the way to 100%, but some things are out of my control. Sometimes I just mess up. Like in this case, it would have been higher chance of success if I did outline the socket. It's still very low because I just can't make an outline like the factory does, so it's always a lot of guesswork. So boards without outline, it's essentially 50-50 chance of success. It's a coin flip, but usually they are still worth a shot. So if that works for you, send it in. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one.